The massive Zephyrian warship Mind's Edge floated through the asteroid field like a giant metal whale. Its hull gleamed with strange blue lights that pulsed in rhythm with the thoughts of its crew. Captain Unify stood on the bridge, his eyes closed as he felt the mental connection with his 1,000-soldier fleet. "Sir, we have visual contact with the Nexari mining station," reported his officer, Lieutenant Kim Hay. The young man's voice carried the slight echo that all Zephyrians developed when using their telepathic abilities for too long. Through the viewing screen, they could see the enemy base. It looked like a collection of floating crystal pyramids, each one shifting colors from deep purple to bright white. The Nexari were inside those crystals, existing as pure energy beings who could bend reality itself by changing quantum particles. They had been stealing minerals from this asteroid belt for 3 years now. "Ready the gravity cannons," Tyke ordered. His thoughts spread instantly to every ship in the fleet. No need for radio communications when minds could touch across space, but before they could attack, space itself seemed to tear open. A massive portal appeared, and through it came the biomechanical ships of the hegemony. These vessels looked like giant insects made of metal and flesh, with organic weapons that could grow and adapt during battle. "This is Commander says of the Hegemony Third Fleet," came a voice that sounded like grinding metal mixed with animal growls. "This sector belongs to us now. All lesser species will withdraw immediately." Captain Tyke felt anger burn in his mind and shared it with his crew. Lesser species? The Zephyrians had been reading minds and controlling gravity for 10,000 years. They were nobody's lesser anything. The crystal pyramids of the Nexari station began to glow brighter. Their response came not as words, but as a direct message. Pushed into everyone's brain nearby, "Your crude technologies mean nothing to us. We exist beyond your understanding. Leave before we erase you from reality." The three fleets faced each other in the cold darkness of space. Each group believed they were the most advanced, the most powerful, the most deserving of the galaxy's resources. The Zephyrians with their mind powers and gravity control, the Nexari with their quantum manipulation and energy forms, with their perfect fusion of biology and technology, and they were not alone. A shimmer in space announced the arrival of the Luminals. These beings existed in multiple dimensions at once, appearing as shifting geometric shapes that hurt to look at directly. They could phase in and out of reality, making them nearly impossible to fight or even understand. "Temporal disturbance detected," announced Lieutenant Kim, his voice tight with worry. "The Kronok are coming." Sure enough, a section of space began to ripple like water. The Kronok ships appeared to be moving in slow motion, but that was because they experienced time differently than everyone else. To them, the rest of the galaxy moved like frozen statues. They could see the past and future at the same time, making them deadly opponents who always knew what you would do before you did it. Now all 5 apex species floated in the same small region of space. The tension was so thick it seemed to bend light around them. Each group had enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Each group had fought the others for thousands of years. Each group believed they were destined to rule the galaxy. "This is getting complicated," muttered Kim under his breath. Captain Tyke nodded. 5-way battles were the worst kind, usually. When 2 apex species fought, it was brutal but straightforward. When 3 or more met, the destruction was unimaginable. Entire solar systems had been wiped out in such conflicts. The hegemony commander spoke first. "We claim this territory for the biological perfection of our species. Your pure energy forms," he addressed the Nexari, "and your primitive gravity manipulation," he turned to the Zephyrians, "are evolutionary dead ends." The Luminals responded by partially phasing out of reality, their geometric forms becoming transparent. When they spoke, their voices seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Your three-dimensional thinking limits you. We exist in realms beyond your comprehension. This matter is already decided in dimensions you cannot perceive." The Kronarch fleet finally reached normal time speed. Their message came as a layered communication that seemed to echo from the past and future simultaneously. "We have seen how this ends. In 17 possible timelines, this conflict destroys 4 civilizations. In 3 timelines, it destroys all 5. There is only one path to survival, but none of you can see it. Captain Tyke felt his crew's confusion and fear through their mental link. The same scene was playing out across the galaxy every single day. The 5 apex species were so advanced, so powerful, that they could not coexist. Their technologies were incompatible. Their ways of thinking were completely different. What made sense to a gravity-controlling telepath meant nothing to a quantum energy being or a time-sensitive collective consciousness. The galaxy was trapped in endless war because its most advanced children could not learn to work together. They were too different, too proud, too convinced of their own superiority. What none of them knew was that the answer to their problem was already traveling through space in a small, primitive ship powered by simple fusion engines. The solution would come from the most unlikely source imaginable, a species that had no special powers at all. The human starship Peaceful Dawn looked like a metal brick compared to the elegant vessel surrounding Nexus Station.
Captain Lee June
checked his instruments one more time as they approached the massive space station that served as neutral ground for the apex species. The station itself was a marvel of engineering, with 5 distinct sections built by each of the advanced civilizations. "Captain, we're getting scanned by at least 12 different types of sensors," reported Communications Officer Parkday. "The Zephyrians are trying to read our minds. The Nexari are checking our quantum signatures, and something is poking at our timeline." Lee nodded calmly. "Let them look. We have nothing to hide." He studied the alien ships docked around the station. Each design was so different from the others that they might as well have come from separate universes. Lieutenant Song Min looked up from her translation computer. "Sir, I'm picking up communications from all 5 species, but they're not talking to each other. The Zephyrians are sending telepathic messages that the others can't receive. The Nexar are using quantum frequencies that only they understand. It's like they're all speaking into empty space." "But you can understand them?" Lee asked. "Yes, sir. All of them. Strange, but their languages make sense to me. Chronotemporal speech patterns and the luminal dimensional mathematics." Dr. Kim Hanna, the ship's xenobiologist, walked onto the bridge, carrying a datapad. "Captain, I've been studying the alien crew members we can observe through the station's viewing ports. Their brain structures are so specialized for their own abilities that they literally cannot process information the way other species do. A Zephyrian's mind is built for telepathy and gravity control. When they try to understand quantum physics, it's like asking a fish to fly. And humans?" Lee asked. "We're generalists. Our brains aren't specialized for any one super ability, so we can adapt to understand different types of thinking. It's like being a universal translator, but for entire ways of seeing reality." The bridge crew fell silent as they considered this. For months, human exploration ships had been making contact with the apex species. Every time the same pattern emerged. The aliens were amazed that humans could communicate with their enemies. None of the 5 species had ever successfully held a conversation with any of the others. "Captain," called Navigation Officer Cho Wu from his station, "Nexus Station Control is giving us permission to dock. They want to meet with us immediately." "Understandable," Lee replied. "We're probably the first species in galactic history that can talk to all of them at once." As the Peaceful Dawn approached the docking bay, they passed close to other ships. A massive Zephyrian vessel pulsed with blue mental energy. Its crew was probably discussing the humans telepathically, sharing thoughts and emotions instantly. But that same mental link made it impossible for them to understand how other species thought. A cluster of Nexari crystal ships floated nearby, their surfaces shifting through the color spectrum. The Nexari existed as pure energy beings inside. Those crystals, their consciousness spread across quantum probability fields. They could manipulate matter at the atomic level, but they couldn't grasp linear thinking or simple cause and effect reasoning. A Gemini bioship hung in space like a sleeping whale made of metal and flesh that your organic weapons could adapt to. Any threat and its crew had replaced most of their bodies with living machines. But their hybrid nature made them suspicious of pure biological or pure mechanical thinking. The luminal ships were hard to look at directly. They existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, appearing as constantly shifting geometric shapes. They could phase through solid matter and travel between parallel realities. But they couldn't understand three-dimensional logic. Finally, the Chronarch vessels seemed to flicker in and out of existence. Their crews experienced all of time as a single moment, seeing past and future simultaneously. They could predict everything that would happen, but they couldn't explain their knowledge to beings trapped in linear time. "It's like a cosmic joke," muttered Dr. Kim as she watched the alien ships. 5 species, each with godlike powers, and none of them can have a simple conversation with the others. Lieutenant Song looked up from her communications panel with excitement. "Captain, I'm not just translating their words. I'm starting to understand how each species thinks. The Zephyrians see everything as patterns of mental energy. The Nexari experience reality as quantum probabilities. The hegemony thinks in terms of biological adaptation. The luminals perceive multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Chronarchs see all of time at once." "And you can understand all of those viewpoints?" Lee asked. "Yes, sir. It's like learning different languages, but instead of words, I'm learning different ways of existing." As the peaceful dawn docked with Nexus Station, Captain Lee felt the weight of what they were about to attempt. Humanity had stumbled into the middle of a galactic conflict that had raged for thousands of years. 5 incredibly advanced civilizations, each trapped in their own way of thinking, unable to communicate or cooperate. But humans were different. They weren't the strongest or the smartest or the most technologically advanced. They were something else entirely. Bridges between worlds, translators between realities. The missing piece that could finally make the impossible possible. The airlock opened, and Captain Lee stepped into a future that nobody could have imagined. The Apex Conclave Chamber was unlike anything Captain Lee Jun had ever seen. The massive circular room had 5 distinct sections, each designed for one of the Apex species. Zephyrian delegates floated in gravity-controlled bubbles, their blue skin glowing with telepathic energy. The Nexari existed as shimmering crystal formations that pulsed with quantum light. Hegemony representatives sat in biomechanical chairs that were part machine, part living tissue. The luminals appeared as constantly shifting geometric shapes that seemed to exist in several dimensions at once. The Chronarch delegates moved in slow motion, experiencing time differently than everyone else. In the center of this impossible gathering sat a simple human conference table with 5 chairs. "This is madness," thought Captain Lee as he walked toward the table with his diplomatic team. Dr. Yuan Sora carried her analysis computers, while Lieutenant Park Jin carried translation equipment that could handle 5 different types of alien communication simultaneously. The Zephyrian delegate, a tall being named Vexthera, spoke first. His words appeared directly in everyone's mind. "Humans, your species interests us. You claim you can understand our thoughts, yet you have no telepathic abilities. Explain this impossibility." Lieutenant Park responded immediately, his words somehow reaching the Zephyrian's mind despite having no telepathic powers. "Commander Vixera, we understand your thoughts because we learned to listen with our minds, not just our abilities. We studied how you think, not just what you think." The Nexari crystal formation pulsed brighter. Their communication came as pure mathematical concepts, pushed directly into everyone's consciousness. Probability calculations show human neural patterns to not be compatible with quantum consciousness interfaces. Yet here you are, processing our quantum mathematics. Statistical impossibility. Dr. Yoon stood up and activated her holographic display. "Honored Nexari Collective, we don't process your mathematics the same way you do. We learn to translate your quantum concepts into patterns our minds can understand, like learning a new language. But the language is a way of thinking. The hegemony representative, a being that was half organic and half machine, spoke with a voice that sounded like grinding metal mixed with breathing. Adaptation is evolution. But your species shows no signs of biological or technological enhancement. How do you interface with our biomechanical systems?" "We don't interface directly," replied Dr. Yoon. "We learn to understand the relationship between your biological and mechanical parts, see how they work together, even though we can't copy your abilities." The luminal shapes shifted and twisted as they communicated through dimensional mathematics that made reality bend around their words. "Your 3-dimensional existence limits your perception, yet somehow you comprehend our multidimensional Communications. This defies the laws of dimensional physics. Lieutenant Park smiled as he responded. We can't see your extra dimensions, but we learn to understand the effects they have on our reality. Like understanding wind by watching how it moves leaves, even though we can't see the wind itself. Finally, the Krenak delegates seemed to speed up to normal time. Their words came layered with echoes from past and future, in all timelines. We observe species with linear time perception cannot grasp temporal simultaneity. Yet you respond to our communications as if you understand our temporal nature. How is this possible in any timeline? Captain Lee stepped forward. Honored Krenak, we don't experience time the way you do. But we learn to understand that. You see all moments at once. We can't see the future, but we can understand someone who can. The chamber fell silent. For the first time in thousands of years, all 5 apex species had participated in the same conversation. Each had spoken in their own impossible way. Each had been understood by the same group of beings. Vexthera's mental voice carried surprise. This is unprecedented. We have never successfully communicated with the other apex species. Our thought patterns are incompatible with our telepathic abilities. The Nexary crystals pulsed in what might have been agreement. Quantum consciousness interfaces cannot process biological thoughts or temporal perceptions. Communication across species barriers was calculated as impossible. Dr. Yoon activated another hologram, this one showing technological diagrams from all 5 species. That's exactly why we wanted to speak with all of you together. You've been fighting because you believe your technologies are incompatible. But look at this analysis. The hologram showed how Zephyrian gravity manipulation could stabilize Nexari quantum experiments. How luminal dimensional phasing could enhance hegemony biomechanical systems. How Krenak temporal perception could coordinate all the other technologies working together. Your technologies aren't incompatible, Dr. Yoon continued. They're complementary. You've been fighting over pieces of a puzzle, never realizing that each piece you hold is exactly what the others need. The hegemony representative leaned forward. Biological parts and mechanical parts moving in perfect harmony. You suggest cooperation between apex species. This has never been attempted. Our evolutionary paths are too different. Different doesn't mean incompatible, Captain Lee replied. A musician and a painter are different, but they can work together to create something beautiful. Your differences aren't weaknesses. They're strengths that could make something incredible if combined. The chamber buzzed with activity as each species processed this information in their own way. Zephyrian minds touched. Nexari crystals calculated probabilities. Hegemony biosystems adapted. Luminal shapes shifted through dimensions in Kronarch. Delegates saw new timelines opening, for the first time in galactic history. The apex species were considering cooperation instead of conquest. The construction hangar floated in empty space. A massive structure built by all 5 apex species working together for the first time in history. Admiral Kim Ji-woo watched through the observation window as the most impossible project ever attempted slowly took shape. Status report. He called to his team on the bridge of the command ship Unity. The Zephyrian gravity generators are installed and calibrated, reported Chief Engineer Park Min-soo. The Nexary quantum cores are stable and synchronized. The luminal dimensional phase drives are integrated with the hull. The hegemony biosystems are growing throughout the ship's structure, and the Kronarch temporal navigation system is, well, it's working in ways that hurt my brain to think about. Dr. Lee Soo-min looked up from her monitoring station. 6 months ago, we would have said this was impossible. Now we're watching 5 completely different technologies work together like they were designed as one system. The prototype ship was beautiful in a way that defied description. Its hull seemed to shift between solid metal and flowing energy. Crystalline formations grew along its surface like living jewels. Parts of the ship faded in and out of visibility as they existed in multiple dimensions. Biomechanical tendrils connected different sections, pulsing with life. And somehow, the entire structure existed in a state of temporal flux that made it appear to be building itself. Admiral called Communications Officer Cho Hyun. We're receiving a transmission from the Zephyrian engineering team. The voice of Commander Yexkara filled the bridge, speaking through the human translators, human coordinators. Our gravity manipulation systems are responding to the Nexori quantum fields in ways we never predicted. The gravitational forces are becoming more precise and powerful than anything we've achieved alone. Almost immediately, another transmission came from the Nexari team. The quantum matrices are stabilizing in ways that should be impossible. The Zephyrian gravity wells are creating perfect conditions for quantum coherence. Our energy output has increased by 300%. Dr. Lee shook her head in amazement. They're not just combining their technologies, they're making each other better. Zephyrian gravity control is helping the Nexari quantum systems work more efficiently, and the quantum fields are making the gravity manipulation more precise. Admiral reported Lieutenant Nam Ji-hoon from the engineering station. The luminal dimensional drives are coming online. They're saying the biomechanical integration from the hegemony is allowing them to phase the entire ship between dimensions, while keeping the crew safe. The hegemony engineering team sent their own report. The organic systems are adapting to technologies they were never designed to interface with. The luminal dimensional fields are helping our biomechanical components evolve in real time. We are becoming something new. Finally, the Chronoc temporal engineers sent a message that arrived before they had finished sending it. The timeline integration is complete. The ship now exists in multiple temporal states simultaneously. We can navigate through time as easily as through space, but only because all other systems are working in perfect harmony. Admiral Kim turned to his team. Are you all understanding what they're saying? This isn't just cooperation. This is evolution. Each species is becoming better at what they do because they're working with the others. Dr. Lee nodded. It's like a symphony. Each instrument is beautiful on its own, but when they play together, they create something that none of them could make alone. The prototype ship was nearly complete. It was smaller than the massive warships each species usually built, but it radiated power that made space itself seem to bend around it. The ship could manipulate gravity, control quantum fields, phase between dimensions, adapt its biological systems, and navigate through time all at the same time. Admiral called Lieutenant Nam excitedly. They're requesting permission to begin the first test flight. Kim hesitated. Are they sure it's safe? We're dealing with 5 different types of technology that have never worked together before. Sir, came the voice of the Zephyrian test pilot through the translators. Our minds are linked with the ship's biomechanical systems. We can feel every quantum fluctuation, every dimensional shift, every temporal adjustment. Ship is not just a vessel, it has become a living extension of all 5 species. The mathematics are perfect, added the Nexari pilot. All probability calculations show success rates approaching unity. The ship wants to fly. The luminal pilot's communication came through dimensional channels. We exist in the ship across multiple realities simultaneously. In every dimension we can perceive the flight is successful, the hegemony pilot reported. Biomechanical systems are adapting to flight conditions before we even begin. The ship is learning how to fly by watching us prepare. The Chronoc pilot sent a message that somehow arrived with yesterday's date. We have already completed the test flight successfully in 17 different timelines. The ship performs beyond all expectations. All right, Admiral Kim decided. Begin the test flight. But slowly, we're making history here. The prototype ship began to move, and space around it seemed to shimmer. It didn't just fly, it danced between dimensions, surfed on gravity waves, rode quantum currents, and slipped through time like a fish through water. My God, whispered Dr. Lee. It's not just faster than light, it's transcending the normal laws of physics entirely. The ship completed a journey to the nearest star, and back in the time it took to blink. The 5 apex species had created something that defied everything they thought they knew about the universe, and they had done it by working together. Fleet Admiral Park Soyoung stood on the observation deck of the Synthesis Command, watching the most incredible sight in galactic history. Below her, the planet New Harmony buzzed with activity that would have been impossible just 1 year ago. Zephyrian architects floated through the air, their minds connected as they shaped gravity fields to support floating cities. But these weren't Ordinary Zephyrian cities. Nexari quantum engineers worked alongside them, their crystal forms glowing as they created energy fields that made the buildings phase in and out of different dimensions. The structures were beautiful beyond description, existing in multiple realities at once, while remaining perfectly stable. Admiral called Captain Kim Min-jae from the communications station, receiving the monthly progress report from Governor Lee Ginyuk on the surface. The holographic image of Governor Lee appeared on the bridge. Behind him, they could see the impossible city taking shape. Admiral Park, I'm happy to report that our first fully integrated colony is exceeding all expectations. We now have 5,000 residents from all 5 apex species, plus representatives from 37 other galactic civilizations. How are they getting along? Admiral Park asked. Governor Lee smiled. Better than we ever dreamed. Yesterday, a hegemony bioengineer and a luminal dimensional artist created a garden that exists in 7 dimensions, simultaneously while adapting to the emotional states of anyone who walks through it. The Chronoc historians are working with human archivists to create a library that contains the entire timeline of galactic history. Visitors can literally walk through past events. Admiral Park nodded with satisfaction. The integration process had been challenging, but the results were extraordinary. Humans had become the coordinators, the translators, the bridges between worlds that had never been able to communicate before. What about the military situation? She asked. Peaceful, Governor Lee reported. The old territorial disputes have vanished. When the Zephyrians and Nexari realized they could combine their technologies, they stopped fighting over resources and started creating them instead. The hegemony bioships are now working with luminal phase vessels to explore dimensions we never knew existed. The Chronoc are helping everyone plan for futures that benefit all species. Captain Kim looked up from his station. Admiral, we're getting a priority transmission from the Synthesis Council on Nexus Station. The image changed to show the council chamber where representatives from all member species gathered. The human coordinator, Director Cho Woo-bin, was speaking with delegates from species that had never even met before. The synthesis was formed. Admiral Park, Director Cho said, I wanted to update you on our expansion efforts. This week alone, we've received membership applications from the crystal-based Silicarians, the gas cloud nebulans, and the machine intelligence collective known as the Grid. Every species wants to join us now. How many members do we have total? Admiral Park asked. 63 species and counting. The amazing thing is that each new member brings something unique to the synthesis. The Silicarians can create living computers that think faster than any artificial intelligence. The Nebulans can travel through space without ships by riding solar winds. The Grid can process information on a galactic scale. Every species that joins makes all of us stronger. Admiral Park walked to the viewing window and looked out at the fleet surrounding New Harmony. Zephyrian warships floated next to Nexari. Crystal vessels, hegemony bioships docked with luminal phasecraft. Chronoc temporal ships flickered in and out of different time streams. And scattered throughout the formation were ships from dozens of other species, all working together. Captain Kim, she called. What's the status of our exploration programs? Incredible progress, Admiral. The combined fleets have mapped 37 new sectors in the past month. The synthesis ships can travel faster and farther than anything we've ever built. We're discovering new civilizations every week. The bridge doors opened, and Dr. Song Hai-Eben, the chief xenobiologist, entered with a datapad. Admiral, I have the latest integration statistics. Crime rates in synthesis territories are down 90%. Resource shortages have been eliminated completely. Scientific advancement is happening 50 times faster than the old galactic average. And most importantly, we haven't had a single military conflict between member species in 8 months. Admiral Park smiled. 8 months of peace in a galaxy that had been at war for thousands of years. Dr. Song nodded. The apex species were so powerful that they couldn't see past their own abilities. They were like gods who couldn't talk to each other. But humans ... we're not gods. We're translators. We help gods understand each other. Admiral, Captain Kim called out with excitement. We're receiving a message from the exploration ship New Dawn. They've made contact with something extraordinary. The communication came through with some static. Admiral Park, this is Captain Nam Do-yeon of the New Dawn. We've discovered what appears to be the remnants of an ancient civilization that tried to unify the galaxy millions of years ago. Their records show they failed because they couldn't find a species capable of bridging the differences between advanced civilizations. Their final message translates as, "Perhaps someday, someone will succeed where we could not." Admiral Park felt a chill run down her spine. "Send them our response, Captain Kim." "What should I tell them, Admiral?" She looked out at the thriving planet below, at the mixed fleets in space, at the impossible cooperation happening throughout the galaxy. "Tell them we succeeded, tell them. The galaxy is finally united, and it's more beautiful than anyone ever imagined." The message was sent, carrying the news across space and time that the dream of galactic unity had finally become reality.